Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. Hope you're all safe and well and looking forward to a major heat wave which is heading this direction as of Thursday. I'm not being a weatherman. I'm just saying what I wrote on Facebook, read on Facebook. So tonight we are joined by, you recognise the acting there's every time, these two gentlemen here. We have...
Oh boy.
Right, you know what? I'm not going to do the big introduction for that. You know, I'm just going to say we've got Barry and Barry. You're Barry Frankish and Barrie John.
Hi.
Tonight we are joined by Barry Frank. Tonight we are joined. We're off to a flying start the night, aren't we? Anyway, we're off to a good one. Hi, Jacqueline, though. Tonight we are also joined by Barry's better half. No, I say better half. Ames. I'm going to get your surname wrong, I know, but Slaney.
That's right.
Did I get it right?
Yes, you did. Yeah. Hi.
And there's Trouble herself in as well, Tracy.
Hi, Trace.
Oh, there's wee Eileen from Phantom Seekers Paranormal. Wee Eileen's in on time, actually. It's been a couple of shows she's been late, and I can't abide tardiness. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But Barry Frankish is the founder of BRF Paranormal, and he's also the brains behind Proud to be Paranormal, which takes place on July 26th this year.
You got it. You got it.
Right. And you all know Barrie John, international TV medium and shiny person. But before we get rolling, I've got a wee thing for Barry Frankish now. Sitting in the corner. 2-minute time out, Eileen, then you can come back. Barry was on a show a few nights back with Rosie and Emma from the Gould Gang. And on the show, Rosie was talking about doing a Scottish accent. So Barry attempted it on her show. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to get him to do it on our show to see if he can or not. Do you remember doing that, Barry?
I can't do a Scottish accent.
Was that it? Tracy's saying you're always shiny. I tell you, she's talking about you, Mr. John.
She is, yeah, she must be.
Compliments are flying tonight. So this is our first time meeting Ames here.
Oh, side.
So,
that way.
Give her a wave. Give her a wave. Oh, we've got a ghost in the background.
She does that doing again. You'll just see her appear randomly, and then she'll disappear. You know.
There's a guy.
So we all know about Barry Frankish because we've heard his story a few times, and we know about Barrie John. Heard his story, but we've not heard this lady's story. So we're going to interrogate her for 2-3 minutes once my daughter gets out of the way. There you go. So Ames, it's good to finally meet you. Barry's not told me anything about you. You know how when you meet somebody and say, "Oh, I've heard all about you," and all that stuff. I've not been told anything about you, so you know. So
Yeah.
How did your paranormal journey start?
Well, when I was a child, that's when long time ago. Me and my sister was going up to bed, and we could hear this little noise, like as we were going up the stairs, and it was like a little tingling noise. Anyway, this cat ran through a door that was shut tight, and it stood in the middle of the landing, and it was looking at us. It's me, Dad!
I'm not supposed to be there.
Hello, Dad!
I'm coming too early, haven't I?
Yeah, it's totally fine, Neil. It's not a bother. Even I knew you were coming in, so I would talk to your dad, and I says to him, sneak in.
Evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you all, well, I guess always a pleasure to see you both, Barry. Love to Lovely to meet you, Amy, and hi to you. That's Laura. She's one of ours. So just joining us as Amy's dad, as you probably just heard, Neil Packer. Neil was on our show a couple of weeks ago, and he is the brains behind Paranormal.
I will tell you one thing though. He does claim not to be a daddy. I think he's ashamed.
I thought that was just in public.
I can sack you as well, Barry. Let's just put the record straight. I am not her dad.
He tells everybody that. I think he's ashamed of me.
Oh, God.
No, I don't know. I'm 50-50 now. I don't know. Mr. John, help me out here. Do you know the truth?
I'm sure Barry John knows the truth. Come on, Barry. What's the truth?
I do. I know the truth. Don't worry. The problem is I'm keeping quiet because I'm old enough to be a dad as well. So fingers on lips from me.
Well, I guess I'm old enough and also I'm saying nout. I'm saying no. Anyway, Ames is telling us how her paranormal jump. I know she's beside you, Barry. I know it's fine. And so sorry for interrupting, Ames, but your dad wanted to come on. Please carry on.
Anyway, I forgot where I was now. Oh yeah, this cat came through a door that was shut tight. Anyway, my mum shouts to us, "Get to bed," and this cat ran in the door the opposite way, which was shut tight. At the time, I didn't know it was intelligent because I was only a child, but it knew we were there just as much as we knew it was there. So the following day, I did my very first paranormal investigation at the age of 5-6 years old. I stole a box of biscuits, like cat biscuits, out of my mum's cupboard, and I stole a pint of milk off the neighbour's doorstep. And I did
criminal.
and I did my very first paranormal investigation. And did that cat come back? No, it didn't. And I've been obsessed ever since.
Her little one, she's 9, and she's been into the paranormal since she's roughly 5 or 6. Me, she's about 5 or 6. She's no long after we started PIH, and I've read people comment before, "Oh, you shouldn't have children in the paranormal. You shouldn't have children doing investigations. They're too young." Blah blah blah. But I took her out in a wee investigation. I don't know, 2-3 years ago. It was during the day. It wasn't like 2 or 3 in the morning and stuff like that. It was middle of the day, and we spent about half an hour in a wee local grave, and she loved it. What do you guys think? Just what Ames was saying about she did her first investigation when she was young. Do you think it's there's an age where you should start, or shouldn't you start, or whatever?
Catch that one.
Bless you.
I think it's really healthy that children are involved, and I have to say, Michael Jackson's words, "Children are our future," aren't they? They're the people that they've got to follow us through. And if we're not teaching, is somebody all right there? Do we need to sing "Ring a Ring of Roses" or something?
It's Sarah in the background. She's gaming and she's sneezing at the same time.
She'll do anything for attention. I know
she will.
But honestly, I just think it's healthy, and it's like, as you know, at the Paranormal, we have the junior paranormal team that come along, and I think it's great to see all these young children talking to you about their experiences, because I think the one thing we should never ever do is tell children it's not there, or it's not real, or it's imagination, or you're not seeing that. And I think we have to encourage it. And any of my clients that come to me with children that are very I'll call it spiritually active, I encourage it. I want them to know, I want them to find out more, and I think it's a real shame that as we go through life, people are conditioned to not believe what we do, and that's why we end up with all this sort of skepticism that comes in, where people try and diss what we do in a way. So, no, by all means, I think it's great. Even my demonstrations, if children want to come, so long as they're with an adult and the adult agrees for them to come, I'm more than happy, as well as any of my ghost hunt events. I'm happy for children to come so long as they're supervised by an adult and the adult agrees to it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we have the Teen Academy down at the Haunted Antiques as well, and we do a lot, and it's a lot to do. I think with some of these events and that lot, it's a lot to do with safeguarding as well. So it's making sure it's done safely and with people that know what they're doing as well. So,
what were you, Neil?
Yeah, I agree. We should encourage the children to take part, because I do believe they watch all the movies, the Hollywood rubbish, and they think that's real. And I'm sure some of them go down the park, or when the mum and dads aren't in, they try and dabble, because the Hollywood movies are exciting, aren't they? But the movies are teaching them the wrong way. And like Amy says, we do the Teen Academy, and it's something that I want to build on going forward. To try and teach them. I'm not saying that we know everything, because we don't, but if they listen to what we're saying, they can make their own minds up then, and move forward doing it the correct way, in my opinion.
it's a safe environment as well. So it's trusting the people that you've with. Like the location's a safe environment, and they're going to be there with their parents as well. So
yeah,
she loves it, and I mean, a few years ago, it was Laura saying, children are actually curious. I think it's brilliant when they show interest in the paranormal. It's a subject with death is that very rarely spoke of until it's too late. So by death.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point, Scott. That we've talked there about how people deal with death, and especially children, because I think a lot of the time what we try and do, and I don't mean us, but what people try to do with children is shelter them from it and don't tell them what's actually happened in a lot of cases. And I think that's very difficult for children. And I know from my family's experience, when we lost my mum, we were very protective over my nieces, for instance. And that really was a difficult situation for us. They wanted to see my mum. My mum didn't want them to see her because of personal circumstances of what she was going through. And I think, you've got to remember that lasting impression that is left on anybody, whether it be a child, an adult, whatever, is the memory that you're always left with for the rest of your life. And I think for me personally, I'm going to reiterate again, I would encourage people to take children to see relatives when they're in a hospital condition, because you just never know. You honestly never know.
Well, I totally agree with that, Barry, Baza, because Sarah lost her gran January, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
And the wee one, she was quite close to Sarah's gran. She called her Nana, and she went quite suddenly. But she was in the hospital. We took her up to see her in the hospital. She was fine. She got let out of the hospital. We took the wee one down to see her, and she was still compliments talking away. But when she actually passed, it helped her. She was still upset, obviously, but I think it actually helped her a wee bit, because we kept saying, Nana, she's still kicking about. She's going to be watching you and stuff like that. And because of what we do, I think it did help her quite a wee bit, that she knows her Nana is still, kicking about somewhere. But see, she was still kind of upset normally, but I think that did help her. But no, I've read comments, children shouldn't be exposed to the paranormal. And I think your daughter's broke, because Neil was saying about horror movies, our daughter's a massive Saw fan. The Saw films. The Saw films. And last year, I had Costas Mandela, who plays Detective Hoffman. He was on the show. And the wee one was buzzing, because he was coming on. Oh, the man, they saw, she loves. And she loves graveyards and all that kind of thing. And I think it's a healthy thing. We don't push her. I think, as all you guys and girls say, involve them, teach them, but I think at their own pace.
I think what you find as well with stuff like that, children, I mean, to understand it's not a weird thing to experience, because a lot of children experience paranormal activity without realizing it's paranormal. And they tell an adult or something, and they think they're weird for relaying that information.
There's a lot of imaginary friends and that as well. So
But see, that's the whole imaginary friend thing. Laura, see, my brother-in-law lost his cancer battle last year. The last moment of his life, he was unconscious. His 11-year-old daughter and wife had a movie night with him, precious memories. You can remember the last memory I've got is Gran. It's her trying to explain the programme Charm to me. She was a big Charm fan, so it was a Gran. So she was trying to explain, and I'm totally lost, But this woman was trying to explain the plot, and I was like, I don't have a clue. So it's kind of memories with that you keep a hold of, But no, I think if kids want to get involved and then let them. And as you say, as long as it's a kind of controlled environment and there's adults there and stuff like that who can maybe guide them, teach them whatever words you want to use, then fair dues. Let them have at it, basically. But Mr. John had asked me earlier on what was the topic for tonight, which I thought was quite funny because I don't use topics. But I did say I had a couple of questions. One involved time. Right now, sometimes I just get these stupid thoughts that pop into my. I don't know if you guys get them. Things will just pop into your head and you start wondering about it. I hope you can understand me, Ames.
Pardon?
I hope you can understand me.
She obviously fell asleep then, Scott.
Sorry, Neil.
She's obviously fell asleep then.
No,
this is what I have to put up with.
Well, she's your daughter, maybe. You can tell me later, Mr. John, the truth, all right? Send me a wee mail. Let me know.
All right, I will.
Isn't she? That'll be good. Anyway, as I said, James, I hope you can understand me okay. I do tend to talk a bit fast.
Okay.
Okay. Barry, help her out. She's your missus. Come on, help her out.
She's only just getting used to me.
I can't understand him.
Oh, you're buggered with me then. Right, so anyway, well, this thought popped into my head. I actually asked it on Rosie and Emma's show, but he's never read it out. Ireland saying he's a Ouija, Ames. It means I'm a Glaswegian. I'm a Ouija.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty awesome as well.
Ames is a codder.
A what?
A codder.
Yes, this is a long-winded joke, is this?
Yeah. You need to explain that, Neil. I've got no idea.
Yeah, well, I'm from Hinkley and Amy's from Nuneaton, and Hinkley people call Nuneaton people codders because they used to in Nuneaton they used to have a fountain shaped like a fish. So Barry found out apparently, didn't you, Barry?
I did.
I've never heard that before in my life.
It was a new one for me.
Same as myself, Mr. John. It's a thing I've never. To me, that'd be some kind of fish, a codder. No offence, James. But if somebody used to see me, a codder, I associate that with a fish, would you know?
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not saying you're a fish. I'm just saying I'll shut up right before I dig even deeper.
It wasn't what you said to my mum when he met her.
Yeah. I never met your mum. Oh, your dad, sorry. Maybe your dad. I thought you meant me. I've never met your mum. Aye, so what was I saying? Aye, so sometimes I get these thoughts into my head and it just stays there and kind of ferments, basically. So as far as we know, spirit don't have the same kind of awareness of time as we do, as far as we know. Right? So my question to you people tonight is, I'll try to sound all posh there, is when we're investigating, we encounter an intelligent spirit who's interacting with us, if we're asking a question and they're giving us answers back, basically. Say we're doing it for 20 minutes for talking's sake. Do they become aware then that they've spoke to us for 20 minutes, or is there still no awareness with them? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure that they'd be aware of the time, like, because they're probably just trying to build up energy to communicate or something. It's just about building up the energy. I don't think they'd be aware of the length of time it takes.
No, because time's human concept. Created to control ourselves. In spirit terms, past, present, future, we all happen at the same time.
I mean, it's one of the things that often comes up, isn't it? You know, and especially for me, is what I do, because people will always ask me for time scales and time spans, etc. And I always go, I can't give you that. I can give you what I feel or what I'm feeling at that moment in time, but it doesn't mean to say that that's what Spirit are giving me, because the one thing Spirit always talk to us about, and the funny thing is that the next Parameet, which I'm just going to give it a quick plug, obviously in September for Neil, we're going to do a Trance Dem in Parameet in September. And one of the things Spirit always talk about is time is irrelevant. There's just no time at all. You know, they don't sit up all night. They don't go to bed all day and vice versa. It's just a continual lifespan for them. So I think for us, or for me as a medium, it's very difficult when people start asking me time spans and what happens at certain times. And I find this when I'm working as well. You know, sometimes depending on the caliber of spirit, I'll call it, or the strength of the spirit, I find sometimes it really can exhaust me. And I can be working and thinking, God, I've only done 5 minutes. And actually, I haven't. I've probably done nearly an hour, because it's the whole getting into the spirit, you know, and I just go with it. You know, I always believe I'm a bit like a shotgun going off when I work as a medium, where I just give and give and give. And I think the important thing for me, what we have to remember, there's 2 things I always talk to people about when I talk about being a medium. Once you pass over, you're cured of all illnesses, because there is no physical body anymore. There's nothing, there's no shell, you know, all that's left is this essence of a person. But the other thing is, I always talk about time, that time is irrelevant, because people will talk to me and say, how long is it before somebody will come back? And I'll go, instantly, you know, as soon as they cross to the spirit world, they will reappear if they want to. And I've had that with my own experiences. I've done readings for people where somebody's passed over and within days they've come back to visit. And I think this is the thing that people have to remember, those 2 things. You know, I always say, remember that as soon as you pass, you're cured of all illnesses. There isn't I personally don't believe we go into a big room somewhere and we go through a spiritual hospital where we have to be healed and cured. You're cured because there isn't a physical body anymore. There's no physical pain. And that's the one thing I'll keep pushing and pushing. But that ties into that time span for me as well, that again, somebody will come back as quick as they want to come back. But also, I'm just going to put a bit of a rider on that. They will only come back if you, as the sitter, feel comfortable of them coming back and that you're not going to get upset about it. Sorry, I've gone on my own tangent there.
That's why you're here to chit chat. I mean, what about you, Neil?
I agree with Barry. We have been criticised sometimes that we've got an item from a recent occurrence, and they said we've not given it enough time. And Jane, the medium of the centre, she agrees that there's no such thing. Whether it's a spirit died 200 years ago or died 2 minutes ago, it doesn't matter. So, you know, we did get quite a lot of criticism over one item in particular. They said we shouldn't have it and we shouldn't try and contact these spirits because it's too recent.
Do you know that's a good point, because I've just approached I'll call it a local venue near me, and I asked them if they wanted us to go in and investigate it, and the guy come back quite sort of rudely to me and said no, because if you recall something that's happened and the family members are still alive to this very day, that might cause them an element of trauma. But I thought, the thing is, you don't understand how we work then as investigators. You know, we don't go in there and start releasing stories of what we're picking up. We do this very professionally. And I think, again, that goes back to the TV shows, doesn't it? Where it's got to always be a bit of a mockery of the paranormal. You know, we're doing it because we want to take the fun out of it. No, we're not. We're doing it because we want to prove that there is existence. Now, if that was my relative, I'd actually be quite quite happy in a way that they'd come back to prove that they were still around. That's what we're there for at the end of the day. But it's interesting, Neil, what you say there about objects, because, you know, objects through time go through so many hands, as we know, you know, they passed on. You know, you think of a piece of jewelry, it might belong to great grandmother, it's gone to grandmother, it's gone to grandma, you know, and it goes all the way down the line, daughter, mother, etc., etc. Think how many people that's actually touched, that item, you know, that could have touched maybe 15, 20 people, you know, somebody else might have held it. And people forget this, you know, they I don't know, I think the frustration is people get very hung up on the presence, and it's not about the present time, it's about the longevity of the period for me, you know, of what's happened through the whole period. I mean, I had the first privilege, and I was really pleased to go to Haunted Antiques, because I know Neil's plaguing me to go, and I promise him I will go. But I was invited to go along when we were down at Paranormal, and I've got to say, you know, some of the items, you go in rooms and you just hear them calling you. That's the only thing I can say to you. You hear items calling, and it really intrigues me when I see I don't know what to call them, old items, antique items, you know, because I just think, gosh, what has that gone through? You know, what's that gone through in that period? And as a lot of you know, I study history, and I'm a historian and a tour guide, and I love items of historical value, if that makes sense. I'm not talking money, I'm talking historical value. You know, I mean, I work at Welbeck, you know, we've got Charles I earring there that was removed from his ear when he was executed. You know, we've got his gloves that he wore to his execution, we've got his toothpick, we've got his communion cup. All those things for me are so precious because of what they hold in terms of I'm going to use the word value, but I don't want people to think I mean monetary value on that.
I know it does. I'll catch up with these comments. Laura says, your intelligence is not valid, Mr. Mattison. It relates to the Queen's English. And if you can properly use the correct words to describe certain aspects or situations. I don't know if she's slagging me off there or not.
It sounds it to me, yeah, absolutely.
And he's a giver, not a taker. I don't know who that's in reference to. Don't know. My dad made himself known to me the night before his funeral. I saw that I get that, Eileen. I saw my dad at his funeral. This is an interesting question from Laura, and we were there at the time that this happened. I have a question. Okay, if you see, I'll start again. If per se you lose your physical body, which I agree with, and therefore you don't need food, water, etc., can anyone explain to me how spirit are able to drink? As I shared a can of Coke with a spirit, and the EVP said, "Oh, that was good." So that happened in the Edinburgh Vaults. So the can, for what I remember, it's a can sitting on the table, and somebody disappeared. Basically, that's all I can say. None of us drank it, but we did get an EVP saying, "Oh, that was good."
See, that's an interesting one for me, because when we work in terms of, well, if I was doing paranormal, if I was doing physical, etc., we always have bowls of water around the room, and the water's there for the spirit energy to soak it up, to almost evaporate it in a way, okay? And that's a really interesting one, because I would look at that on two accounts. Number one, did it physically happen, or was it a matter that it sort of swallowed it up? Yeah, it sort of like swallowed it up, if that makes sense. But that's an interesting one. I like that.
What about Barry and Ames?
I'd probably just see that as like he's having the memory of what it may have tasted like, or how it felt when it went down, and that.
Plus, as well, if it's Coca-Cola, I mean, that's been from the 1950s, 60s, hasn't it? So if it's a spirit before then, it's probably never tasted something like that in the first place. And having no physical body, I think, if anything, it's going to be base elements of what it's actually, it's carbon-based, so whatever it's actually atomized of, I think it's probably taking that in.
See, what puzzle does was, where did it go?
Yeah.
Hey, I find that with my wine glass, at times at a weekend.
We all know about your drinking habits, Mr. John. We've seen your holiday floaties. I mean, what about you, Neil? What's your take on it?
I think I agree with Amy. Actually, it could be sort of his memory.
Yeah.
Tracy saying the moment that was 30 minutes ago. The moment has passed out. Sorry, Tracy. We were all talking here, though, and time just got away from us. But we're seeing your holiday photos, Mr. John, and some of them are not too flattering. But we won't go there. Laura's got another one. She's on fire tonight. I have another question that's always bothered me when I went to a reading with mediums. As I sat down, I got visions of a young man, army uniform. I felt compelled to turn around, and behind me was a lady with a halo around her. I'm no medium, but that was unexplained to me.
I'd just say that's a presence, what you felt. You're seeing something there that's visible, and we know that spirit come back on that basis and prove themselves. So, brilliant. If you're seeing it, absolutely fantastic.
Tracy say you talk, really. I do talk now and again. Tracy's my sort of co-host when we're doing covering the Tudors and stuff like that. So, she gets a wee bit of leeway with her cheek here and there, basically.
So does she.
This lady up here, your maybe daughter. That's what we call you.
I'm a bit confused when you say lady.
Barry, that's your missus he's talking about. Come on, are we going to see a family domestic here?
Barry's got to be careful. He can't say anything against Amy, can he?
I'm impartial.
Otherwise, he'll be in the doghouse tonight.
I know it's Laura was lost. No, Tracy is Tarek Tracy. Are we not going to see a bit of domestic, but come on, stick up for your woman.
You're frozen again.
What I mean,
dear.
But I've always been fascinated with the time kind of aspect, spirit-wise. Are they aware? Are they not aware? I have many names, Laura. And
I think one of the things that is somebody going to ask us a question there?
Is Barrie John, spirit ever harmed you or attempted to take possession?
Right, they've never harmed me. I can guarantee that. They've never harmed me. They've spooked me. That's a different scenario, I would say that. Attempted to take possession of me only if I allow it. So that would be in a trance situation for me where I allow spirit to come in and manipulate me. Pardon how I use that word. But that's the only time that I would ever allow spirit to come in and do that. And I'm a very big character that I believe that my spirits upstairs, my loved ones, my connections will always look after me and put me first. So I have to say on that, the first one, no, they've never harmed me. They've spooked me. The second one is I would never allow that to take control of me.
That's another good question. What were you? Let's get around the panel with this question. What do you think? What were you, Neil? Have you ever had an experience with Eileen? Eileen saying.
No, I've never been harmed at all. I agree with Barry. Sometimes I do get nervous and quite scared because I don't really like the dark, to be honest. But I actually think people have the wrong impression of the paranormal. The paranormal isn't scary. The paranormal, most times, it's you're talking to a grandma or a granddad, and they're not scary. They occasionally, depends who you come across, can try and scare you, but I don't think they can physically hurt you, and unless you, like Barry says, unless you allow them to.
Yeah.
And because we got a physical body, so we're in control of our physical body, and I don't think they can really harm us. So I've never been harmed. I'm sure Amy hasn't either.
No.
Are you guys still frozen up there?
No, fine now.
We're all right now.
Fine now.
So what about Ames? What about you? Ladies first.
Well, I don't believe that spirits can hurt you anyway. Like, I don't believe, but I forgot what I was going to say now. No, but
it's a bugger when that happens, isn't it?
I know. Tell me about it. No, I don't believe that they can physically harm you in any way. No, it's the living that scares me more than the dead, anyway.
Aye, especially in Glasgow, though. I know exactly where you're coming from with that one, you know. Or Yorkshire.
But you know what? It's interesting, isn't it? Because remember, there's just as much activity happens in daylight, in daytime, as there is at night time. If you walked into, I don't know, I'll use Haunted Antiques as an example. If you walked there in the daytime, you probably walk around and think, oh, it's great, I love this. Why is it any different at night? The only difference is it's dark and there's no lights on.
Yeah.
And it's almost this up here gets involved too much. This imagination gets involved. And, you know, I remember as a young kid watching all the old-fashioned Peter Cushing movies and Vincent Price movies, you know, and there was always something spooky around the corner. Not very good ghosts, obviously, in those days. But you know, it's the imagination for me that takes control of people and puts the fear factor in. And we all know how easy it is to create that fear factor in somebody's imagination when you're working with them.
Yeah.
I thought we've done, no doubt you guys have done, we've done investigations during the day, because some folk, you know, I've read comments before, why do you only investigate at night, you know? And you say, well, there's less noise contamination, you know, there's nobody about, basically, and it kind of adds to the kind of atmosphere sort of thing. You know, you get that kind of...
You more your senses as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, but we've done investigations during the day, and we've been lucky enough to have quite a bit of activity during the day, and we have it night time. Obviously, I had the most amazing interaction with Child Spirit Loud in Kirk. I love a little girl by the name of Lottie asked for me. I reminded her of her mum. She asked for a white flower, and so Eve. I think you're only allowed so many letters, aren't you? And then you need to. So, time I'll go now to a white flower for. I don't think she was part of Loudon, but a passing spirit. That's when we, Rosie and Emma were up. We were doing Loudon, and it was a new name. We'd never had this name. We've been there for the best part of 4 years. Never had this name before, so you know, we're going to look further into it. It might lead to nothing. Who knows? But we're going to have another wee look. But she did ask for Laura in particular.
Do you know, I think the memory of spirit, of what spirit have, is phenomenal, and I think we only tap into a really small proportion of that time because we don't give them enough time to come through and discuss conversations with us and to have conversations. And we've all seen it on events, especially public events, where everybody's calling out at the same time, and it's almost like there's no time for spirit to react. There's no time for spirit to give an answer. And even though you'll say to people, look, you know, ask a question, give it a pause. Next question, give it a pause. And people, I don't know what people expect now on paranormal events. You know, they're so different to what I used to do years ago, you know, when we were doing it for ourselves, not as public. And I think for me now, and I always remember I did an event a few months ago, and I said to this group of girls, I said, what are you wanting from tonight? And this girl said to me, I want a full apparition and then I'll believe. And I just thought, you know what, you're just barking up the wrong tree here. This is not going to happen tonight, and in years it doesn't happen, you know. But I don't know what people's conceived ideas are of the paranormal anymore, because I think there is so much that's been publicised, and I'm going to use the word force publicised, where people have been made to believe that there's things that are going to happen, you know, automatically. You walk in a room and, oh my God, everything starts flying around the room. You know, paranormal activity on an event is that big. It really is. You know, some of it we can explain, some of it we can ignore, because it's what I call the material of the building, the fabric of the building. It's the radiators going on and off. It's the water tank heating up, cooling off, whatever, stairs creaking. And for me, it's that small element of paranormal that really, really dragged me in, that I want to know more about. I want to investigate it. So I just get disappointed when on a public event, people go with these preconceived TV ideas of what's going to happen. And it sort of kills the night for me straight away, because you know they're setting it up to fail.
Normally, the most exciting thing I get on an investigation, 9 times out of 10, is piles sitting on the cold floor.
I think as well, you've got suggestivity as well. For example, you can go to like for example, we've got a war room. We've got a war room. I mean, people automatically assume they're going to get something from a war era. Well, they got about time again. I mean, layers and layers and layers of time. You can get something from donkey's years back, not just because it's suggestive. Yeah. There's a uniform character there. It does seem people are very easily suggested too.
Sorry, Scott. And that's a good point, Barry, because people will go into a room and see the room as it is now. Yeah. They'll see everything that's in place. And pardon how I say this, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, I know it's been staged, if that makes sense. But people do not see that. They'll go in and automatically they'll go, I've got a man in uniform.
Yeah.
You know, well, hang on a minute. What about before? What about what the building used to be? You know, I don't know. People don't do that. And I think, you know, it's one of the things I always say to people, when you're going on a paranormal investigation, do not look at history. Do not read history of that building, because you'll find a lot of it has been created. And we know this. We know places create their own history to make it spooky. But it sort of puts a downer on it straight away, because I don't know, you know, you've got a white lady in the war room, whatever, you know, and I'm making this up. And if she doesn't come through, well, I'm really disappointed because she didn't talk to me tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not in it for that pivotal moment to me. That moment interact with Lottie was it. She was telling her story. I was listening. If that's not a pivotal moment, then what is? But we are going to follow this Lottie thing up. But I know what you mean, Barry. You know, people get into a room, they automatically. It's like Greyfriars. Eileen Warren said, "Oh, you agree with me on this." You know, people go into Greyfriars and they immediately expect to meet George Mackenzie. You know, the Mackenzie poltergeist. And we know it doesn't exist. The name Mackenzie, it was made up for a book. But people automatically go to Greyfriars. And the amount of teams I've watched, you're not allowed to investigate it anymore, but in the past, the amount of teams that I've watched and say, Eileen Warren, back me up, and say, oh, we encountered the Mackenzie poltergeist. You know, I get scratched by the Mackenzie poltergeist. George Mackenzie is standing watching me through that window and all the rest of it. We've investigated Greyfriars, you know, before we found out about the ban, and we get nothing. You know, with one night, and this lasted seconds, Sarah felt really, really warm. There was a heat. I felt there was a heat coming from somewhere. Now, this was about 11, 12 o'clock at night, you know, in the middle of Edinburgh. And so it wasn't exactly a heat wave or anything, but we felt this heat. And I thought I picked up on a guy standing behind us, no George Mackenzie, but, you know, he was there, then he was gone. And that was it. End of story.
Yeah.
But people do just get this mindset. The other thing I think that pushes this idea to people is when you get teams and stuff or groups that they organise these events. You know, I'm not talking about every group, but you get certain groups that organise these events and their only aim is to make money, to sell the ghosts.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Do you know, that's a really good point. I mean, I remember doing an event a good few years ago at a very well-known location, and this group had booked me to go along. And when I got there, basically, I ended up running the whole night because all the group wanted to do was their own private investigation, and they left all the public on their own. They had no time for the public whatsoever. And I even ended up having to make teas and coffees for the public, and I was booked as the guest, you know, and it was almost quite... I wasn't bothered, but what upset me was for the guests. The guests had paid to go on a paranormal night, and basically they got dumped.
I've had one like that many years ago. A similar kind of thing in Wakefield, West Yorkshire, and 2 young girls, and the main guy was running up. I won't say names, but all he wanted to do was read his newspaper all night, and they were trying to help me say, they got me roped into. I didn't mind helping them, but I just felt sorry for them.
We get invited to one in Edinburgh Vaults a couple of years ago. We went with Spig, and I'm not going to name who organised that, but there may be about 20, 25 years, and we all met in this one room in the Vaults, and we were just sort of sitting there, and we couldn't tell who was a team and who was, you know, guests. And then the team that were organising it, they buggered off to a room and started investigating, and we were kind of sitting there thinking, right, you know, what we did.
Yeah.
Aye, the Volkswagen. And so we ended up just wandering about, basically. And I think there was maybe 5 or 6 guests there, actual guests. They all buggered off. They went home because they were
But you see, but the problem with that, Scott, is that just puts a bad name on it for everybody straight away. And we've all seen this. You know, I mean, I know of companies over years that have set up, done a runner with money, not done the event. I've spoke before at Parameet where people were using my name to sell events, and then they'd literally, I knew nothing about it, absolutely nothing about it. And then I've had other groups that have used my name and booked me, got to the day before the event, they've turned around and said, oh, we haven't sold enough tickets, cancelled me and booked somebody else. It's terrible. Honestly, it's awful. It's a really awful environment nowadays, I think. I think it's very much, apart from a group of us that seem to stick together, and most of us are the Parameet guys. But, you know, I have to say, it's wild out there, isn't it? It really is. People just do what they want to do. You know, I'll always go on about getting into public's houses, not checking things out, not checking families properly, leaving them with things. You wouldn't believe the amount of calls I get where people have called a paranormal group into their home, and I go, what did they say? Oh, they told me it was haunted. Well, what did they do? Oh, well, they left me. That was it. They'd just gone home.
Yeah, for YouTube specials.
People
Absolutely
don't
ridiculous.
realise the mental health that there's lots of different reasons and that lot. People could be having on medication and all sorts. They could be having mental health problems and all sorts. And these paranormal investigators are going into these properties and they're scaring the life out of these people. It's awful.
It comes down to what we've all talked about numerous times. And I know this has been discussed at the Parameet shows. Accreditation. There's very little accreditation for what we all do, apart from an element of what I'll call respect, which is a different thing. But there is no accreditation. You know, you go on Facebook. You know, I've seen it time and time again. Get a certificate to be a medium. Get a certificate to be a paranormal investigator. Get a certificate to be a gemstone specialist. Whatever. They don't count for anything. There is no accreditation. That is the problem. No. And sooner or later, something's going to happen where somebody does something, and it puts us all in a bad light. And I think that makes me jump back to what you were saying, Scott, where groups create these events and just let people run riot. Absolutely let them run riot.
But that's what happened to that night. So we couldn't tell the guests for the teams, and we thought, right, and they buggered off into a room, and we thought, right, you know, what we doing? Are we investigating, or are we sitting in this way? And we ended up leaving 2 or 3 hours early, and it was in Edinburgh, so we're for Kilmarnock, so it wasn't exactly around the corner. And
do you know
what? You're getting home. Saw that.
Do you know, on any of my paranormal events, if I have a small paranormal group that wants to work on the event, which I have no problem with anybody coming and working as a group, I will always put an element of like one of the members of the team with them. And if they ask me the question why, I go, number one, you're under my name, my insurance, and you're going to be monitored by my staff. Because if you break something, that doesn't go on your head, that goes on my head. And it also causes me a problem. So I won't let people, pardon I would say, I hate using this phrase, run riot, because you can't do that. You know, you're in historic buildings with priceless items, absolutely priceless items, and you can't allow people just to run about.
No, it's like talking about accreditations as well. To accredit to something, you need to have a governing body, and in this industry, no one's qualified to do that.
No, there's no. That's a we knew a woman once when we first started. We don't associate with her anymore, but she put on her Facebook page, you know, I'm now a qualified paranormal investigator, and I've got a pass, a card thing to prove it. And you know, the thought that immediately popped into my head right away was, can you imagine turning up at some graveyard, old castle or something, saying, you know, I'm Scott Mathieson, PI. Got my card, I'm ready to go. Like, what kind of bollock would do that? You know, it's just, I've got, and she was all, that's when she passed her driving test, she was all happy with my card. Like, serious with all, and imagine turning up, the spirits would laugh you at the gate, basically. But I mean, just back to what Ames was saying about, you know, people, private homes and what have you. I did a show with Rigger last night and we were talking about, didn't name this particular team, but they're Scottish. But in a similar situation, they did an investigation, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and they put it on their TikTok, you know, we'd done a private house, you know, investigation. But a couple of days before we went to the house, we knew it was a demonic possession, a demonic presence. And thought, so Rigger and I were talking about this last night. Imagine whoever, you know, lives in that house. You've got these cabbages coming in saying, there's a demon here. And you don't know what kind of mental state this person's in. It can uproot their whole, you know, their whole life. I mean, this team up here, they're a joke. You know, I mean, every investigation they go to, it's either a demon or a witch or a nasty priest. They pushed the boat out last week. They did an investigation a few days ago, an abandoned house, and they say they got a shapeshifter and crawlies were there. I thought, how far are you going to go? Now, I'm not saying that these things don't exist. I don't know anything about them, these subjects, you know, but, you know, you think, how far are you going to push this? And the thing, just what you were saying, Barry, people actually are drawn in by this. I read the comments on their videos and folks, wow, yous are so brave. I could never do what yous do. You know, and you think, seriously, you know, and
it makes a good clickbait on YouTube there, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it does.
And they've
it's very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
To give you a quick example of them, which people come to my investigation by invitation, I need to trustfully come along to Paris Pillops and be disrespectful and disruptive. Scottish and the company they keep is bad. LOL. I know. After we come off, I'll tell you who they are. That comment means, you know, it's probably a granny coming back to say hello. I mean, this team did Loudon Cup. Now everybody knows we're quite passionate about Loudon Cup, but they did it, I don't know, a few weeks back. And I was watching it on the live, and I put in the comments saying, oh, you know, Loudon Cup investigated there many times. And then a wee while later, I put another comment in. I put a dud name in and said, ask for Robert. You know, his first name popped into my head. And lo and behold, they got Robert, who was the boyfriend of a woman who used to live in the castle nearby. Do you know what I mean? It was just a total red herring I threw in the chat. And they've got Robert here, or that, you know. And then they wanted to come on the show last year. And they said, well, it'll be £80 for us to come on your show. I was like, you can go and take you get me, you know, they wanted me to pay. The accuracy trolley put in the pound coin, you put the trolley being in, even though you're getting it back. I grudge that, do you know what I mean? £80 to come on the show.
It's like charging for an autograph.
As the stuff these people make, they say there was witches. There's a park in Kilmarnock where we live. They say there was witches there. Now, we studied it at Warris State here all day, so Sarah, and we spoke to a few people. There's no connection to witches at all in this particular area. But these two clowns found the witches, you know what I mean? It's just, but that's how absurd it's getting. You know, with you guys, it's just getting way out of hand, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
I think it absolutely is. And I have to say this, for me, it's the Americanism that we suddenly all seem to have gained, you know, and everything that you watch about certain TV shows is all very demonic, it's dark, it's sinister. And, you know, I don't know, I just get tired of it. I have to be honest nowadays.
The problem is, though, where will it end? Because you've had the ghosts. People got bored with ghosts. They've got the demons now. What next? Is it Beelzebub himself being interviewed? Yeah. And where will it end?
Well, that's what I was thinking when these bananas came up with a shapeshifter and crawlies. I thought, right, who's next? You know, it's Satan. I just said that, Sarah. Is Satan going to pop up one night at there's a location in the Barres Market, which is in Glasgow, and they've been doing that for a few months. And they started off to get one spirit, a little girl, but as the weeks went on, they kept adding to them and adding. Now that I think they've got about 11 spirits. Every time they go, they get another 3 or 4 spirits jumping in to say hello. And they've got a priest There's always a priest with them, you know. No, I don't know.
I always find there's a demonic monk, which really confuses me when it's a demonic monk.
He gets about a bit.
I'm going to start calling. We just need a name for him. We'll call him Bob. It's Bob the demonic monk.
I mean, it's like like Barry just mentioned the TV programs and the Americanization of it all. I mean, everywhere these people go, we always get some sort of activity in 45 minutes. I mean, it just shows you how fudged it is.
Well, I mean, I always use my classic example that, you know, America seems to be the only place that's got the gates to hell. Say no more.
It's just you know, there's been a few teams up here. No doubt you get them down south as well, but as soon as they start investigating, they get activity, and they get activity every single investigation. And it's always dark and demonic. As Tracy put in, it's something about a granny. She put a comment up about a granny. It's never the old granny from down the road, you know. It's always a demonic, sadistic priest, you know, or a shapeshifter, whatever it might be. And I was so tempted. I was so close last night to naming these cabbages, but I thought, no, I'm not going to do that, because then that can verge on the bullying kind of side.
Well, the problem is, if you do that, you're giving them publicity. That's what I look at. You're actually giving them, pardon, I'll use this word again, accreditation for what they do, and you're better off not publicising it.
Yeah.
Bad publicity is better than no publicity at all.
Because way they look at it, think, oh, someone's noticed us.
People are noticing them, you know, but for the wrong reasons. People think they're wonderful.
Yeah, shame. Really is.
And I would love to get them on the show, but I thought, no, because I don't have £80, because I like buying Lego. Do you know what I mean? I prefer my Lego.
Like before, you mentioned, it's always based on negativity with the TV programs and films and that. I mean, hauntings don't have to be negative. I mean, you can always go back to a place in spirit form where you'd love to spend time.
The problem is, and this is what I always look at with TV, if it's not negative, it doesn't sell.
That's true, yeah. Like
news, it's got to be negative.
Sells,
yeah.
What's your thoughts on all these cretins, Neil? You're sitting there kind of quiet. What's your thoughts on them?
I always sit here quiet, listening and watching. On YouTube especially, if you put the word demon into the clickbait, the title, you're going to guaranteed more views, and that's what people on YouTube want. They want more views. But I don't believe any house on the planet has got a demon infestation in it. Right. Because we do the demon connections. Demons is just a label anyway. These entities are just ancient beings.
Yeah.
But because I think it tends to, like Barry said, it's come from America. Unfortunately, the English people or the British teams have latched onto that now. Put demon to, I was attacked by the demon-infested house, or name it the demon house. It is going to get more views, and that's all they're after. They're not investigators at all.
No. I think everybody's jumped on the bandwagon now with haunted locations. And when you look into some of them and you try and look back at the relevant haunting period, it's minute. We're talking a couple of months in some cases where something has happened, but nobody's investigated why it happened during that period a lot of the time. And then everybody's trying to make it reenact itself. And it's like, but it hasn't been there for years. So the presence isn't there anymore. It's moved, it's gone, whatever you wish to call it.
It's all about ego, Neil. Eileen Swing.
Yeah, YouTube, that's all they want. They want more viewers, which they want to make some money out of what they do. And I watch quite a lot of paranormal shows on YouTube, and 99% of them are total rubbish. There are some good ones, obviously, but majority are total rubbish.
There are genuine ones out there. You know, I like the ones where people turn around and say, right, you know, we've got nothing tonight. Spirits on the playing game. Playing ball or whatever.
Yeah, if I watch a new team on YouTube and they put a video out and they they get absolutely nothing, and they're honest about that. Yeah, they're genuine. I will watch them again.
Yeah.
But like I think Amy says, some of these teams get activity everywhere they go, and it just ain't like that.
The problem with it is you've got two categories. It's like ghost hunts and investigations, two different things altogether. But you've got entertainers and educators, totally different things altogether.
What do you think of the term ghost hunting? I'll tell you, this is just my opinion. I don't like it because it makes us feel like we're going to be a big net and a torch.
Yeah, I've always said that.
I think I'm gonna hold my hand up here because I do use that phrase, and the reason I use that phrase is because I sell my events to pardon our word, Joe Public. Joe Public will not understand what a paranormal investigation is if I put a poster out. They want a ghost hunt. They know what a ghost hunt is. What you're going for? We're going to hunt ghosts. Simple as. Oh no, actually, we're going to go out and see what we can use using equipment. And they're going to go, what are you doing? And
That's
boring. Yeah. And I think you've got to cater to the market is the word that I'll use. Yeah. But I'm going to be honest. I'm honest with people when they come on my event. If we don't get any activity, I will say to them, "We've not had any activity tonight." That doesn't mean to say that this building hasn't got a presence. All it means to say is that tonight it's not playing.
That's right.
Exactly. Barry, Laura thinks she thought I spoke fast, but Barry Frankish is on fire.
Too right.
But that's
do you know why? That's because he won an award at the Parameet. That's what's doing Barry.
Oh, aye, that's right. Your award. Congratulations on your award. I forgot about that.
Well, I blame the person who presented me to it.
Can I just say I actually chose the winner for the community award. When I saw Barry's shirt on that night, I nearly changed my mind.
Hey, I think that shirt should have got the award in itself.
Yeah, Neil, did they have a bit of a fashion foobar?
I've got no fashion sense, but that shirt certainly wasn't my fashion sense.
I think every man, at least, I'm not being sexist, but I think every man in their life is allowed one ridiculous shirt that they think they look good in.
It's not ridiculous. It's a piece of fashion iconic material.
You get it, Primark or whatever, B&M, no B&M. What are you saying, B?
I said, look, your white one.
I've got a white shirt, and I think I look pretty hot in it. That's just me. But there's quite a few differences of opinion up here about, my fashion sense.
The thing is, though, I was brought up in the 70s, and we all know what the 70s fashion was like.
Cords and what did you call the jumpers with the sleeves? Come on, Barry, I remember.
Tank tops.
Tank tops.
And you wore them out to play with your black slip-on sand shoes. That's what you wore them out to play.
Platform shoes.
Well,
Barry can remember all these, can't you, Barry?
No, I can't. No, I was only born in the 70s.
What was the shoes called? I had a pair of them. Wedges.
Oh, the platform. We call them platform shoes down platforms.
Here. They were called wedges or something up here. The soles were that thick. And you thought you looked great. It made you be 6 foot taller. But you thought you looked to business, didn't you?
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said about fashion. I've just totally forgot what I was going to say. That like Craig's flower one, but apparently it's iconic because Jason Manford, the comedian, has the same shirt. I don't think I've seen Craig's flower one. Craig's Laura's other half. Platform clogs, loons, love beads. I had beads. I had about 10 sets of love beads. That I always wore. A fringe weight. Some of these fashions are coming back. But mind the corduroy trousers, the knees always wore away.
Did you have the patches on them?
It depends what you do with them.
Yeah, your mum used to take the back pockets off and make patches on your knees.
Yeah, they did. That was it.
You had the patches on the
elbows.
Don't say that in public. I think she's talking Craig or other half. But I mean, what Mr. John was saying, you tell people that you're not going to get an apparition tonight or whatever. That's true. You know, we had a lassie came out with us a few weeks ago, and a few days before she came out, she was saying, "Oh, so what's it going to be like and what have you?" I said, "Listen, all I can say is don't expect anything. Bottom line, we'll go." Yeah. Thankfully, we had quite an eventful investigation. You know, we did have quite a bit going on. But I did say, look, forget. I think she'd been sort of swatting up on ghost shows and stuff like that, you know, watching all these. And she says, look, forget all them. Just come and see what happens, basically. Yeah. But as I say, we were fortunate enough the spirits were wanting to play ball that night. So it worked out quite well. I don't tell people in public that he's married. But I'm just noticing the time, guys. So before we sort of wrap it up, because I know Barrie John has to get to his bed early for his, you know, his 40 winkles, as my dad used to say. Can you tell us about, first, Mr. Frankish, about Proud to be Paranormal?
Yes, Proud to be Paranormal Worldwide T-shirt Day is on Saturday, the 26th of July. You don't have to go anywhere. It's the only event in the world you don't have to actually travel for. All you need to do is put your favourite paranormal attire on, take a photograph, give an image online with the hashtag Proud to be Paranormal. It links to everybody. It's one big happy family, like Neil knows. It's extended Parameet in a way, and try and get that same essence what we got at Parameet, and see if it's a bit further afield.
So give Barry's page a look, or Amy's page as well. Give them a look up, and you get all the. I was going to say paraphernalia. It's not that word, isn't it? All the details there, shall we say? And Neil is the brains behind Parameet as well. If you tell folk what Parameet's all about. I know they cannot self-explanatory, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, Parameet is just a paranormal convention where we meet up and have a good laugh. Barry's a part of the Parameet family. Barry's always there, and then Per are always there as well. I try and get rid of them Per, of this one especially, but she keeps turning up.
You know we're haunting you.
but next year we're extending it. We're doing we're taking Parameet on tour, and Scott up there is helping me find a couple of locations in Bonnie, Scotland. So we're taking Parameet all around the country, all around the UK. Plus we're going to have the main one back in Inkley in June, which will be summer solstice. So we're looking forward to that. So all the tickets are available now. As soon as we get all the locations signed up, we will be announcing where the tour's going.
We're looking for. We're very honoured, as I said before. We're very honoured to be part of it, and that Neil has the trust in us to help him organise the tour, basically. Scott has enlisted the lovely Sarah and myself. To Mr. John, I'm not leaving you out. Where do you fit into all this?
I'm just on my own. I'm just on my own. I'm just an individual, Scott.
You're never on your own.
Never on your own.
Can I just say, Scott, you're very lucky to be the first person to have two godfathers of the paranormal on the show together. Is that right, Barry?
Absolutely, Neil. Yeah, we're not going to live that one down, are we? You know,
we're not.
I think your face were as good as mine when it was announced, you know, and it's made us chuckle ever since. But, you know, I think, you know, the one thing I love about what I do, I want to support everybody and I want people to make a difference, you know, and I think what Neil's generated, what Ames and Barry have generated is bringing together good quality people who have got good experience, good advice. People can go, we're all very, very approachable. We really are. I mean, you know, I'll sit and chat to people. We all do, you know, we just sit around a table and we talk. And I think that's the difference with Parameet is it's not one of these shows where you go and all the guests are sat in the back, you know, in the green room, and they only come out to talk and then they go back and then you never see them again. Everybody's there all the time on the floor, you know, and we're all there to share knowledge, experience of things that we've gone through, you know, and you know, I love seeing people develop. You know, I love talking to groups and giving them advice and going, well, try this, try that, try something else. And that's what it's all about for me. It's sharing knowledge, sharing it down the line. you know, I said at Parameet, you know, another 5 years for me, and I want to be hanging my hat up. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But you know, I'm getting a bit old for it all now.
You love it so much.
And also with the Parameet, if you come on your own, Neil will get you working.
But it won't pay you.
Nothing wrong with that.
If you don't have any friends,
You might come as strangers, but you leave as friends.
It's a family.
Yeah.
It is a family. That's what things. Sarah and I, Laura, as well. We've said this. You know, we've been doing this for 5 years now, but and it sounds a long time. It's not really compared to you guys and girls. It's amazing just how many people we've met over that time doing these podcasts, you know, and in person as well. And as a family, you keep in touch with them. We talk to them. Maybe know daily, but you keep, you know, because it's impossible to talk to everybody every single day. It can't be done.
I think what's nice, Scott, is that people know that if they want to reach out to you, they're going to get a response, and vice versa. You know, everybody somewhere will all respond to each other in a strange way, whatever it is. You know, we don't just disappear.
I've lost touch with a few people, not on purpose, but, you know, I've maybe not spoke to them for 2-3 months. But you drop them a wee mail and you say, well, sorry, not being in touch, but being busy, whatever it is. But that's the thing we like about it, that as a family, as a community, you know, and people can come together and they can laugh and, you know, have a laugh and a joke, but we still take what they do seriously, and people keep in touch, you know, and we've met all of you people included as well. Many people in the last 5 years, you know, we would never have met if we hadn't been doing this. And
true.
I think with the Parameet as well, it's a good way to, I think I spoke to you about this, Neil, to bring anybody who's wanting to get into the paranormal or maybe slightly interested. It's maybe a good way for them to come along and dip their toe in the water, basically.
Well, exactly. The first Parameet actually started at the centre. Once a month, we invited small teams to come and have a chat. And that's how Amy got started with us. You know, how many years ago, Amy? 7 years, 6 years?
7.5 years now.
7.5 years. Amy came to the first Parameet and
never got rid of me.
Can't get rid of her now.
Well, she's your maybe daughter. But it's amazing how time flies by, you know. But just before we wrap it up, I need to ask one more question to Mr. John or Mr. Packer. What's the Godfather thing? I'm going to ask you. You mentioned
I'll tell you, it's a secret. It's a secret society, Scott. You can't know.
Do I need to know what my shoes are like, and do I get told the secret?
It was the wonderful Hazel Ford when she was on stage, and out of the blue, she just announced that I was the godfather of mediumship and that Neil was the godfather of the paranormal. And I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting, but that's where it come from. And then it stuck with us all weekend after that.
We were both gobsmacked, weren't we?
Can you do the voice, but
no.
I think she was just hinting that we perhaps the two oldest there.
I think that was exactly it. Yeah, I do honestly. I think that was it as well. Yeah, the oldest people. Oh, bless you.
But we'll wind it up there, people. So you can find the BRF Paranormal or Proud to be Paranormal. Just look up Barry or Ames. Mr. Packer down here. You can find him on Facebook, and anything to do with Parameet, you'll find that on Facebook. This guy, he's everywhere, Mr. John. Just type his name into Facebook and it just explodes, basically. Do you know what I mean? But I'll hold on, he's just going to be said after we come off. So that's it. So a big thanks to all my guests tonight. It's been a good wee chin wag to everybody who's watching. We're back on Wednesday night. We get Rebecca Jackson, who joined us at Loudon a couple of weeks ago. She's coming in to share her views on how it went with her. And we'll wind up there, folks. So we'll say good night, folks, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Bye, everyone. Cheers. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.